turns to shit, okay? It's true.
Skull, and welcome to the DragonShip. We're going to have a great conversation today. You guys are going to love this. We're going to talk about the core four. Let me bring up the panel and we'll introduce everybody. And you're going to ask, what is the core four? Well, the core four are the fundamentals of every man's existence, essentially. It's how he socializes. It's how he becomes fit and healthy. It's how he acquires resources, how he puts it all together and makes it executable and actionable in his life to success. And we're going to talk about it today. Welcome anybody that's watching now, and we'll also entertain your questions. So let me bring up the panel. We have Wraith, Dean Tor, we have Mark Daniels from Mark's Inspiration, and we got Huds, the Hudsman from First Class. How you doing, guys?
Great.
Fantastic. Awesome. Fantastic. How are you doing, Wraith?
I'm good, man.
Shiny, looking good. Happy Sunday.
I'm trying to get it there.
Yeah. So, and Huds, how are you doing? Hello, beautiful.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Mark, you're looking real spry there, man. In shape. You're getting that beard scuffle starting to go, man. Can't wait to see that thing. You'll be light soon.
Yeah, it's kind of like my eyebrows. I don't have much here.
You know what? My eyebrows are getting weird, man. I'm getting older, so they're starting to, get that real Brezhnev look, where it's like really coming out there and getting long. Never had that issue before. The hell's that all about, Wraith?
Dude, quarter inch shaver, you know that.
All right.
And just run across the top.
Quarter inch shaver.
At least they haven't grown together yet,
There you go.
Although I am a Neanderthal, I guess I have about 6% of those genes, so it doesn't surprise anybody, I'm sure. So we're going to talk about the core four today. You guys are going to hear a lot about this eventually because this is kind of foundational, and some of our good friends really coined the term, and we're going to shout out MLD John for coining the term, the core four. What are the core four? It's money, muscles, game, and frame. And what are those things, and why does every man need to know them, and why are that important, and why they are the core of a man's success? No matter who you point to, wherever you're at, and you see a successful man, every man is going to have a portion of these four things in their lives. And we're going to kind of explain and run through why, and hopefully we'll have some examples in real life, and we can share with you guys how we define these because they haven't been fully defined yet. And I'm not sure that you can actually fully define them, but I think you can kind of box them into kind of some container words to where everybody will understand the concepts, because they are mental concepts on how we operate in life and what we do when we bring our behaviors into the real world through actions. I hope I'm saying that correctly. You guys understand me, or I'm just rambling here?
Yeah. Oh, you're good. You're good.
Good. So we'll have some good discussion on why this is important. Anybody have anything to add before we get started here?
No, I'm ready to go. This is ready to go.
I think all of you guys can touch with this. I have I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to do this as an experiment. All right. Hey, Danny Arnold, how you doing? Offie Kingdom. Offie, if you want to come on, we could use you here because you kind of have that whole finesse thing and you understand this concept pretty well. So if you want to do that, drop into the Telegram. I'll give you a link. Okay. Fantastic. So I'm going to bring up, let's see. I'm going to bring up a short video and kind of talk about this a little bit, and then we'll jump in and get your guys. Yeah, Mark, got the rose-colored lenses on, red pill. Hey, any of you guys ever see that based AF movie called They Live?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen They Live? Oh, okay. We got to take a detour just for a minute. All right.
I better write it down.
Raise right up. You better catch up, man.
Hey, I got glasses. I'll be right back.
Okay, so this movie starred Roddy Piper back in the day, right? And what it was is he was kind of a homeless guy. There was a huge recession going on at the time. This was an 80s movie, okay? So why it's so base is because he goes to this homeless camp where these guys are kind of feeding everybody. And they're talking this crazy stuff about conspiracy, the leaders that are feeding everybody. And essentially they have these glasses. And he gets a hold of one of these glasses. because he hears some things like, you put these glasses on, you can see reality, you know. He puts the glasses on and he looks around, and there's a huge black and white world with all these subliminal messages now revealed to him that say obey, breed, consume, buy. And then he looks on the TV and there's these aliens that are speaking to everybody. He takes the glasses off, they look like normal news announcers and people. The cops are aliens. Everybody around him is these aliens that invaded Earth and have been here for years and decades. But when you put the glasses on, you can see them. And the whole point of the movie is they live. And his best friend's this black guy. And he refuses to believe. And he's trying to put the glasses on him. And they have this huge fight. And I guess the fight actually turned real, rumor has it, in the movie. And these guys beat the shit out of each other. Finally, forces the guy to put the glasses on. And then, of course, they go through the movie trying to rescue everybody. Hell of a movie. I don't know how I got there, but he has this line in there. It says he's here to, you know, kick ass and chew bubble gum. And he's all out of bubble gum. And he has the glasses like these. So I liken these until the glasses from They Live, where you can see the truth, huh? Well, at least you can see something. I can see better because they're prescription. So have at it. Oh, look at Danny Arnold. Here you go. It isn't a movie. It's a damn prophecy. There is some very ironic things there that are quite coincidental, of course. Yes, they are. But if you haven't seen it, take a chance and take a look at it. It's out there, available free, I'm sure. Very classic. They Live. From Roddy Piper.
It looks like Offie's here. Throw him on stage.
Offie Kingdom. I was talking about one of your wrestlers, Roddy Piper, and They Live. Phil Foster's here too. Oh boy, we got the crew.
Crew. Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been posted back here since the intro. I was wondering when y'all was gonna see me. I was just sitting up here.
Oh, I got off on a tangent about wrestling. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It's
How's
my fault.
everybody doing?
Good, man.
How's
What's
everybody
up, Patty?
Good.
Speaking of a guy that looks like a monster wrestler, Phil Foster. Phil Foster Fitness.
What's up, brother?
Listen to that voice. He's got it right there. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Ooh.
Listen to a Slim Jim.
You guys doing okay today?
Right.
Living the dream. Living the dream, gentlemen.
Right on.
We're talking about some cool shit.
Looking
We're
forward
talking
to it.
about the Core 4. And I just gave kudos to John over there at Modern Life Dating for coming up with the Core 4. I mean, the concepts have been floating around in various forms for a very long time. It's called by different names, but we're going to talk about those today. And these are the 4 elements that if you were to come as a young man and need to improve yourself, and you look around at everybody around you, that you might admire, they're going to have varying degrees of these Core 4. They'll have different levels of skills, I would say, in these Core 4 elements, but every man has them. Some men lack them, but they do have them, and it makes them creepy when they're lacking one or the other. But if you increase one, the nice thing about it is you increase one, you kind of can cover for the others. And we'll get into that. We'll talk about that. I got something and if you don't know what the Core 4 are, essentially it's money, muscles, game, and frame. So if you haven't heard it as that, we're going to refer to it as that for now. And I think that's the one that's going to stick, is the Core 4, because that's easy to remember. I went ahead and put a definition on a book I'm writing. I'm kind of going through those and how they relate in real life. And so I'm going to bring that definition here. It's not hard and fast. It's a concept. So keep that in mind when I bring these up, okay? And we'll bring them up now. Okay, this is the Core 4. So I just got this little thing rolling here. And the Core 4, as I defined it, we'll stop at each one and we'll go ahead and talk about it. So we'll stop here. So game. Let's talk about game. And then we'll rate these after we're all done. These aren't in any particular order, and everybody's going to have a different concept on what's the most important. That's okay. So here's my definition, and let's go around table and kind of give everybody's understanding of what's going on here, okay? And look who's joined us.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Good, Robert. How you doing? This is Robert from Command Your Confidence. Appreciate you joining us tonight. I hope you caught some of the intro.
Oh, I missed it, but I'll catch up.
No worries, Robert. Welcome to the panel. We're talking about the core four, and we just acknowledge MLD for kind of coining it. And we're talking about it in the context every man must have these if he is to achieve any level of success outside of the default.
Okay.
And I kind of defined it as I have put it together so that we could discuss it. I tried to boil it down into its basic elements. We'll discuss each one of the core, and then we'll chop it up on what we think it means. And if we have some examples in our own life, feel free to do it. And we'll just do it round table, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
So I'll go ahead and read it. Game. Game is the level of a person's social acuity or social awareness, plus the ability to understand subcommunications of individuals or groups, coupled with the understanding of behavior, probabilities, and leveraging this knowledge to achieve the desired outcomes in relationships. Yeah, it sounds a little sciencey. It's not, but does that jive with you guys, Rafe? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's right, and I think using game or having game also helps you develop intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to have a knowledge of understanding of human nature before you can really go in and be intuitive about other people.
Yeah, it's definitely there's big social aspect here. Mark, what do you think about game? You've probably met a lot of guys with game, and I know you got some yourself.
I think everybody has games, just some people have better game than others. And I think the best way to develop game is when you talk to people, all people, is to listen with intention. Because that's the only way you can really get inside of people's heads. Too many people are worried about what they're going to say next instead of what the other person is, what they are saying. And if you're always thinking about what you're going to say, you're not focusing on what that person's saying to you. So you can never develop any kind of insight into people because you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say instead of what they're saying, where it's coming from, what kind of a person it is, and what the intent of the words. Because as you guys know, what is it? Less than 85% of what we communicate has nothing to do with the words we say. And that's what you really need to be listening for. I'll say it that way, for lack of a better way, when someone is speaking to you or when you're in an interaction with a group of people.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. Hey, Huds, I got an unstable connection. If I go carry on with this, it'll stay up. All right.
All right.
In fact, Huds, tell us what your thought is on the game situation here. I mean, game's a big deal, I think, because and it's like an onion too. You can have social awareness, social acuity, but if you don't understand communication, sub-communications, you might in a group, in individuals, but if you don't have a group and you don't know how to behave or how to respond to it, you can come off real creeper on the outside, and that can harm you. So a game is not just exclusive to male-female relationships, but all relationships. Wouldn't you agree, Huds?
Absolutely. I have to say, game is my favorite, and I can't wait till we get down to ranking them, because quite honestly, if you have a game, I think game trumps all. And I've got plenty of times where I've experienced that, where I may be lacking and have been lacking in some other areas. I'm not as ripped as Phil Foster. I may not have as much money as somebody like Laurent, but I've always been able to make it work, and I've beat out guys that visually and just basic thinking about it, there is no way that I should be beating them out. And so game is my favorite.
Love it. So you mentioned Laurent. He's not here right now. Hope he'll join us soon. But just to give you an idea, here's what he's saying. The only thing more miserable than a broke, sexless chump is a rich, sexless one. So I guess we know what he thinks about game, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, not bad, not bad. How am I doing? Simply deep. I am living the effing dream. Come on, kid. I know the secret. Game, Offie, master of game, master of charisma, master of the art of finesse. What do you think about game, Offie?
I think that game is something that everybody should have, and like Hez says, everybody has it, but everybody doesn't have good game, and some people aren't aware of the game that they have. So that's a major key, just being aware of what you can produce, because a lot of times people do stuff, but they do it on default, So that's game of knowing exactly what it is you're doing and implementing it when it's most effective.
Wouldn't you say that game is so fundamental that you can even witness it with toddlers and young kids going, just playing in school? I mean, you could see that how it starts to shake down. There starts to become hierarchies and who has game and who doesn't. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's just manipulation, but people look at manipulation as a bad term, so it's
Mhm.
safer to say game.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Afi, I used to teach communications class, and I used to tell in the communication class, I'd say all communication is a form of manipulation, and people would just get crazy about it. But in reality, it is, because you're always trying to convince someone either your point of view, or you're trying to listen and understand someone else's point of view so that you can, be a part of that. So, and that's the problem. Manipulation has been turned into a bad word, and persuasion's been turned into a bad word. But in reality, that's how we communicate.
Right.
Right on. Phil, what's your take on game, man? What's your background with game? You got some game.
I got a little bit of game, but not a whole lot. I think that I'm going to side a little bit with what Mark was saying, and I put it in our private chat that, and he was talking about people that are too busy thinking about what they're going to respond. Those people are actually called responders and not listeners. And so 100% agree with Mark. You have to be a really good listener to even apply the game to whoever you're trying to, or whatever situation, whether it's a group, a female, or a business deal, anything like that. I think that everyone should inherently utilize the game that they have and develop it if they don't have very strong game at all. I think that people that fail to be able to communicate what they want 100% have weak game. Because if you know exactly what you want and you're willing to take it, you're going to use persuasion, whatever you're going to use to get it. I don't care. I think game is a very, very big piece of a man's life, 100%, when it comes to business, women, relationships in general. And also, if you have a solid skill set with game, I would say that, people that are trying to game you can recognize that game and use that to your advantage. I'm just spitballing from the armchair. I don't have a lot of experience like AFI Kingdom over there, but, I'm just saying, that's my thoughts on that.
Afi Kingdom. Yeah. He's good though. He does a good job explaining it for sure. Game's an important thing, command your confidence, Robert, over there. I mean, you've been learning game for your life just like the rest of us and putting it to use. And the better you get, the more confidence you get in it, right? I mean, it's an amazing thing. I could see a lot of young men today withdrawing, becoming nihilistic because of circumstances and saying, I don't want to play the game anymore. I'm taking my ball, go home. That's really not useful to a man's success, is hiding like that. What do you think?
No, correct. Well, just from my experience with game, like at first, like I was all focused on like the technical stuff, the communication stuff, and that, what you guys were talking about earlier is true. Like the more experience you get, out there, just like with communicating with girls and other people, the more you're going to be able to read social cues and stuff and see whether or not she's going to be wasting your time, and you can avoid being a creeper and everything. So that is true. But also there's also like the game within yourself too. And so that's the one where you kind of work on your mindset and like you discipline yourself to go out there and take the action. And I avoided that a lot. Kind of work, I always thought like, okay, I just got to go out there and learn these techniques. But then I'm not realizing I was still like, kind of shy and, kind of nervous. But then I realized, well, crap, there's got to be more to it. And then like, so I worked with some inner game coaches who helped me like kind of focus on myself and, not, placing women on a pedestal and stuff. And just like, even if you don't feel like, talking to a girl, you just go out there and you fucking do it. And then like, and then making yourself and developing yourself, making yourself the most important person.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that. Placing women on a pedestal is what we're taught to do coming up through school, in our social, the majority of our social circles teach us to do that. And I believe that is quite a disruption of a man's game when it comes to social interaction with females. Is putting them on a pedestal puts him at a severe disadvantage in the long term. About that. You experienced some of that?
Right. Well, I mean, I used to do a lot of that, when I was like, before I kind of was learning this whole thing about game. I used to like place women on a pedestal and stuff. You know, that mindset thing about it. You know, I just kind of didn't think, okay, well, I can't talk to this girl. I got to act a certain way to get this girl and stuff. And I just got sick of like being someone who I wasn't. I just learned to, be more authentic. And I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes, like since I've had those behaviors for like 35 years of my life, I still kind of see myself, sinking back into them, and I have to be aware of that. And that's another part of like inner game. Like knowing yourself, having that awareness to see what's keeping you from moving forward and shit. And once you can like overcome that, you can realize, okay, crap, we're going back into your old, behavioral patterns and mindsets, and you just fucking give yourself a kick in the ass and like realize, well, hey, this is not how it is.
Yeah, so that's interesting because what do we call it today? Simp, right?
Right.
A sucker, immortalizing, mediocre, poon, right? And it's a form of game though in reality, because there's hopes that if you place this person on a pedestal, it's also disingenuous, quite disingenuous, I think, because you tend to not tell the truth. You tend to put yourself out there and in a rather apologetic fashion. It is game, but it's not the game that's going to make you successful in life. I mean, an example of it, if anybody can think of this, is I could think of this. When I've done my work and I've worked with people, you ever be around somebody you just meet in business and they start to talk you up, but they don't know you. They start to put you in a place where, oh, you're the best. You're such a badass, Thor. You're this, you're that. They have no idea who I am. Isn't that kind of off-putting? Anybody experience that?
It definitely can be.
Yeah,
it definitely can be, but
it's unusual for us guys, but it does, if you've seen it in person. And it seems to me that some of the guys that have been there and done that in everything in the field tend to do that. You've all met them, the guys that drink their own Kool-Aid.
Right.
It can be a very tactful way to get people to like you though too. It's just all about the timing and what people are saying.
Right. I mean, there is such a way to, but you have to know something about them. That's the game, right? You discover it through conversation, such as a passion or something, and you turn it around, you power flip back to it. That's a very powerful way to get someone to invest in you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone that's placating or pandering. So anyway, got a little bit sidetracked, but that is a form of game as well. And I mean, and we've all met those guys that are, the top G's, which just have game, coming out of their ears, where everybody likes them. And they seem to get along socially very, very well, because they do have those communication skills, the ability to recognize sub-communication. And sometimes people like that, just for me, they say just what's necessary. They don't overdo it. They leave everybody, what are they thinking next? That's some cool shit right there. Anybody got some good game stories I want to throw out there? Lessons they learn? I'll tell you one. When I had no game and I was a kid and I was trying to get a girlfriend, I was just like everybody else. Please, please, please. I'll tell you this, that doesn't work, man. Not at all. Not at all. And what it does is it led me to a mindset of scarcity. This is so hard. Being social is so hard. And it led to me being a little bit withdrawn socially. Anybody experience that? And when I withdrew socially, it felt better. It really did. I was safe in my little bubble, but it was a false bubble. I had a lot of holes in that shield wall, and they got torn down pretty hard. When I came out of that, I reversed it by 100%, and then I pumped myself up with arrogance and presumption. And that's not a good way to do it either. Find mentors, guys. Don't find it on your own. There's mentors sitting on this panel right now. If you need game, there's guys here. Plenty of guys you can learn from. I would recommend Afi if you're all about the game with the gals. He's got it in spades. So, and there's other guys. Huds is excellent with that sub communication via text. I am not good at that yet, but that sort of game is important. Let's move on to our next one, unless anybody has anything more on the game. Nope. Okay. Here we go. Back to the stream. Yeah, game. I think game's really important, though. like I said, it's going to be important to different guys, and different guys will have differing levels of all of this stuff. I can fast forward this. There we go. The next one. This is all Mark and Phil right here. So this was my take on it. I mean, my muscles are looking pretty sloppy right now, but they're coming. Muscles. Now, I'm going to expand on this one because I think it's more important than just what's sitting on your body. Muscles is to become physically fit to one's maximal capability, both mental and physical muscles earned through disciplined mindset. This includes exercise, diet, education, reading, meditation, and mindfulness. You have mental muscles that are just as important as the outside ones. Why do I say this? Because I have met people like Dr. Sean Stevens. I haven't met him personally, but if you see any of his videos, he's lacking all the muscles. But the muscle here is so immense.
I know who you're talking about.
For it in game. Yeah, he made up for it in game, made him successful with money, and achieved such a large frame around it, it could easily be overlooked. Some of those examples are incredible, but with the muscles, let's talk a little bit. I think this is one of the most important as well, because even if you have a very low level of game, this is something you can do by yourself, whereas game, you must get out and engage in the arena. You guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this one you can take on, and this breeds confidence because you can see results. And if you're not seeing results, try something else and continue to do that, because all of this works both physically and mentally. You read books, there will be results. You'll act upon what you have read. You'll act upon what you have retained. You work your muscles, they will start to respond. Yes, of course, you'll get some injuries, but you'll learn how to avoid them. You'll learn how to fix them. You'll bounce back and you'll develop self-discipline. And that self-discipline will bleed into your game, because once you have some confidence in your ability to achieve something with muscles, then your game is automatically starts to go up. These are so intertwined. It's almost like each one has a direct pipeline to the other one. Even though I'm delineating them here, as you get better physically, your game level goes up because of your mentality and the disciplined mindset that you have, your unwillingness to accept failure. Phil Foster, Mr. Super Lean, my hero. How would you take this?
I would say definitely your physicality begets your mentality 100%. If you have the discipline to put your physicality together, your mentality is going to come along. Now, obviously, there's a lot of muscle heads out there, beefcakes, or whatever you want to call them, that are dumb as a box of hammers. And out of this list right here, the meditation is where I fail the most. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't have time to meditate. I'm too freaking busy. I don't even take that time. I guess maybe I meditate while I'm working. I don't know. I run things through my mind, but
meditation, there is physical meditation.
Yeah, I guess so. So then maybe I have that box tick there, but I will say that, muscles definitely are, here's the deal, man. If you don't have your physicality squared away, people are not going to take you seriously. Now, I've seen some busted up looking dudes with some hot chicks. I've seen busted up dudes running big corporations, making big stacks of cash, but they're anomalies. For the average gent out there that's trying to carve something out of this world and leave his scratch, I would say that you're going to have for people to take you seriously, you're going to want to look like a serious individual. If you do not look serious, people will tend to not take you seriously. They'll kind of brush you off. And I've seen this time and again in social situations, easily in some other men's communities that I've been involved in, that my physicality has been the best out of them all. And they're like, man, how did you do that? It's almost like you become magnetic. Okay. And when your physicality is on point, you become magnetic to those that are less than you. And they want that. They want to know more about you. They want to know how you did that. When it comes to the meditations and things like that, and learning and continuing to exercise those other muscles, I would agree with that as well. It's kind of like when you're developing yourself and whatever you're trying to build, it's not that you just have arrived. In the infographic that you had up there, it said, to your maximal capable ability. I don't think we ever really find that.
No,
I think building muscle or developing yourself or building whoever you are and whatever you're trying to become or whatever your ideal is in your mind, I think you never arrive. I think it's a constant work in progress. I think you are constantly improving in one piece or another when it comes to the multifaceted thing, which is you. It's kind of like a diamond, you know what I mean? You got to polish all the edges to get it just so. But I would definitely agree that if you have solid game and you have a physicality that shows discipline to the world, and you're putting your best foot forward through your aesthetics, you're 9 times out of 10 going to win a lot more than the gent that doesn't have himself put together 100% of the time.
You know, it's interesting. I will agree with that, but I will say this. I'm certain that a man like you knows how to calm that voice in your head through your exercise, whatever it is. So that is not necessarily meditation, but it's the mindfulness and the discipline. I've seen some of the tires you throw, some of those things, man. You got some discipline there.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll even go back to this with everybody. One of the things that's amazing is when I got into shape, and it definitely changes things. And if you're paying attention to it and you learn subcommunication, if you've ever been out of shape and at a social environment, say at a resort, a swimming pool, at a beach where everything's very close and people are interacting, where half the people know each other, and you're introducing new people, you definitely see a huge difference when you're in shape. Especially from the females. Not saying anybody's flirting or anything like that, but there is attention that is thrown your way when you're in shape. And if you understand the subcommunication, you take the time to realize this, it's almost like putting those glasses on in that movie, They Live. Everything changes right in front of your eyes when when you have become a specimen. Now, you can emulate that if you have extremely good game and good social skills. It kind of balances out. But if you're in really good shape, you kind of get that by default, that door opens. I can tell you that happens. One time I was walking across a pool and I was in the best shape of my life at like 50. I was 57, kind of similar to the symbol up front. I was in really good shape, lean, lots of abs, the whole thing. And I was walking across the pool. I got some water and I came back, and this one middle-aged lady walked up to me and says, "I just have to thank you." And I'm like, "Oh, what I do, what's going on here?" And I'm not lying. This is what she said. "You just walk with such confidence. So refreshing to see." Now, it kind of stunned me. My wife kind of giggled, but it was kind of cute, and I wasn't doing anything really out of the ordinary, but it was kind of nice to see. But I was in extremely good physical condition at that time. So you definitely get attention and you get a little bit of an edge there. Is it required? No. You don't need to be in that good a shape. You can have the game and the social skills, of course. Mark, you've been lifelong into this muscle thing. How has it changed your life, and why? Is this one of the important ones to you?
Well, it's important to me, but I don't think it has to be important to other people. It just depends. What I like about it is the way it makes me feel about myself. Now, I've always been in pretty good shape. Now, although one time when I was about 22, I got up to 184 pounds, and I was fat. Okay. And I didn't feel good about myself. So that affected my self-confidence and my ability to really perform in all aspects of my life very well. I didn't want to go out. That's how bad I felt about that. About 30 pounds heavier than I am now. Had a little more muscle, but I was still fat. I think if a person thinks he's going to get in shape and that's going to make any difference as far as him picking up women, I think he's sadly mistaken, because the only thing it will do, it'll change the way you feel about yourself. But if you already have that confidence and that inner sense of game and awareness and ability to talk to people, I mean, as long as you're not like 300 pounds and 5 foot tall, and even then, game will trump muscle. But I think it's more about the way you feel about yourself. And the meditation, I've been doing that for probably over 30 years. That is something that helps you control your mind, because if you can't control your mind, you can't control your actions. You're a reactionary person. And as you guys know, women they're not really attracted to reactionary people. They're attracted to a man who can control his emotions, who's not moved by every little storm that she throws or every little thing that comes in from life, every little turmoil that happens. So that's as far as exercising that muscle. And I use the meditation along with visualization to form my body and to create in my life what I want. Because if you can see it in your mind over and over enough times with feeling, sometimes not with feeling, but as much as you can, and actually use your five senses in your visualization, you can achieve whatever you want, whether it's picking up girls, success, money, um, having good games, seeing yourself talking to women. Everything begins in the mind. And it amazes me that people don't think more about that or use that more, because every action we take, including what we're doing here, was a thought before it became a reality. We don't put enough emphasis on that. But yeah, your looks, your physique, that'll get your foot in the door. But if you open your mouth and have no game, it doesn't do anything. But I think it's very important in respects to how you feel about yourself. And like you said, Thor, I get a lot of attention because when I walk in a place, I usually I dress nice, I hold my head up high, but it's more the aura that is in front of me, the way I feel about myself. And that is what is projected out more so than the way I look. The
Yeah.
way I look is just a reflection of what is going on inside of me. So, and that goes back, I think it improves your game because it makes you feel better about yourself. That is what people see, is how you feel and what's going on inside of you. At least that's my take on
No, that's great, and it's beautiful because it's more complex than just putting
it.
muscles on, because it does have an effect on your mind. And you notice when I put the infographic up, it talked about not just your physicality, but your mentality as well. Self-care grows out of this. Self-care and identity is a way that you can use this, even if it's your mind muscles that you're putting together. It becomes a part of you, your style, how you project your presence starts to grow out of this whole thing. If you start with the muscles, mental muscles, physical muscles, you can just start right now. Mental muscles, by God, you can start right now too. And speaking of mental muscles, Offie Kingdom is a prolific writer, and he talks about these mental muscles all the time. You know, one of his good books that he gave me was All on Charisma, which is a huge mental muscle that plays right into game. Offie, what are your thoughts on these muscles, these mental muscles?
I think muscles is a good metaphor just to use as masculine, because that's all you really need. You know what I mean? It's, you know, women have different preferences of, we can all have muscles, but then we have different body types. I can
Mhm.
be muscular like a football player. I could be muscular like a basketball player. I could be muscular like a soccer player. So it's not just necessarily the muscle. It's just the sense of being masculine to make your woman, just for one, feel safe. It's just from threat and just from herself, and then two, to be dominated. Women like to be dominated from a physical specimen and sexually too.
Yep.
So it puts them in that mind. Like you would be surprised the women who fantasize about, like, uh what's the guy, like Legend, like the big devil guy. Like, women actually have erotic fantasies about being
Mhm.
dominated like that, and people need to understand too that we look at porno and stuff like that to relieve ourselves, let's say, but in reality, man, a lot of that stuff comes from reality. People think that, oh, that's cool, but let me get back to my regular life. Like, I was watching Sex Life. I mean, it's kind of old, but it's just kind of funny. I was watching the episode today, and it's just interesting that how some people who are outside of space, or the information doesn't resonate, they kind of think, oh, that was off the hook, man. That girl was willing to risk it all, and all these type of thoughts that are triggered. But they look at it like entertainment and not understanding that this is what really happens. It's not just like a made up story. Like women, I learned about bisexuality from watching women from porn, just not to get off, but watching how they respond to each other is different than
Ah,
when a woman responds to a man. It's different. Yeah, they both ooh and ah, but it's different stuff. So with the masculinity, if you had that energy, um, it's very attractive to women. and just to people too, because when it's all said and done, we all can be leaders, and some guys look for leaders to follow. So it's like you're getting both. You're getting, the man and the woman, and then the woman wants when women they adore men who have power and can lead other men. So then you get that, and then you get the women too. You know what I mean?
Right. And what's really interesting about what you said is that when we talk about this muscles and we equate it to masculinity, it is an easy way to define masculinity in some ways, because look at the majority of women. What is their preference? A man over 6 feet. Why? It denotes power and strength, and the fact that he could express violence to protect her if necessary. And that's what muscles can do for a man that doesn't have that kind of height. But also, one thing interesting I found out, Phil, you might have found this out too. I don't know, but I really did. And I think, Wraith, you might understand this as well. When I was in the best shape that I was, it was only a year and a half ago. I was 213 at 10% body fat. Hard to maintain, for a guy in my frame, 5'10", 5'10" and a half. It was awesome. I got the attention long before I ever got there. So by 195 on my frame, easily getting that attention. At the point I got bigger, more vascular, and appeared much more of a massive, the attention from the women really didn't increase much, maybe by 1%, but the attention from the men in respect, all that sort of stuff really did go up. It's kind of an interesting thing. At a certain point, when you get to a certain body mass, the guys are going to go, Phil, you look so fucking solid, man. But you're not hearing the chicks say that anymore. But you're still getting the same level of attention that you did earlier. Did you see that?
Yeah, interesting enough, kind of like what happens is the girls actually become more uncomfortable around you.
You're too damn dangerous. That's why.
No, it's not that, man. It's just when your physicality is completely dialed in, they tend to get a little more self-conscious. The wheel really starts to roll, and then they start really hopping on it. And especially when you put them in uncomfortable situations, like, okay, let's go, let's meet at the pool for a first date. Let's do something, where we're in bathing suits and we're going to see what people look like, instead of, okay, when you put them outside of the comfort zone like that and hit them like that, they tend to get a little uncomfortable. Yeah. And so you're right, though. Dudes definitely will be like, dang, dude, how'd you pull that off? What's the trick? And so, but once again, I will agree with what Alfie was saying. Alfie was saying, on the masculinity thing. I think when you have extreme discipline and you put yourself together in your physicality, especially muscles, okay, and it takes a lot of discipline to get there, man. It's like you have to be on point with everything. I think you combine that with a high sense of masculinity and drive and who you are as a male. I think you're crushing life, and then you throw game on top of that. You can't lose, man. It's crazy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah. Have you noticed that, Wraith, in your tenure? You've been in shape. You were law enforcement for a long time. Oh, you're muted, buddy. You're muted. Mute.
Yeah, I've been in shape and out of shape. I'm out of shape right now. I'm trying to get over COVID. But, most studies have found that women tend to prefer the V-shaped swimmer body. And as you get beyond that in size, and I've been there, you tend to, you're right, not get much more attention from women. And the attention seems to be turning to men because men understand what it takes to get there. And they respect that of you. And, there's some fear that enters into it from beta males and stuff like that. But that's what they're looking at, the challenge that is taking you to get there. But women, like I said, you get, let's say 12 to 15% body fat, and you have a V taper, most women are going to be attracted to you.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that body shape, you got Huds and you got Robert there. You guys are doing good, man. Robert, you just came from the gym, didn't you? Or you? Well,
that was when we were texting
we were talking yesterday.
Friday.
Yeah.
I was working on some today. In my take on all this, I'm siding with Mark because, I think being in shape and everything will benefit you too, but it's not gonna if you don't have the game and the mindset. like, I mean, that's not gonna get you where you want to be. You can be like this handsome guy, but if you have no confidence in yourself, like, or no social skills, like, you're just gonna appear as creepy in front of a girl.
Oh,
And
they
so,
got a
like,
name for that, right? They got a name
What?
for that. They got a name for that. I saw it on Instagram. It's called gym cells.
Oh, okay, I didn't know about that.
Look at Phil. Is there such a thing as gym
That
cells?
is friggin' awesome, man.
I've never even heard of that till right now.
There's
But,
an IG called Gym Cells. It is
Let's
hilarious.
Google that later. But I think too, like, what I get from like working out too, like makes me feel good about myself that because when I go to the gym, like I feel good that I'm working out, and like I like being in shape and everything. So it kind of it helps my confidence, but also like you look at it as a way to, like, form of discipline too, because going to the gym and everything, and just actually going about working out. And I do meditate too, because you got to set aside time for that. But when you can develop a discipline to do that, you can carry that over into your game and everything as well. And sometimes, when life comes up, yeah, you slack out, you slack off on that like anything else. But I think, like, if you can develop what I got from, like I said, just makes you feel good, and like, especially when you're walking around, you're like, yeah, yeah, you got the muscles, you're in shape, and you feel good. But it's not like, I think it's, in some cases it might not be important, because, like, I mean, like you said, I see people who are not in shape, and they have attractive women. So for some people they wouldn't need that. But I mean, it's just another, for a guy who works out and has game, that's just like another thing to add on to that. That's gonna make you sexy and shit.
Yeah. How'd you got anything, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, just the two pieces I wanted to point out from everything we've talked about. I really like how you put it as like the mental muscle. I think that is extremely important to continue to learn every single day in whatever way you can. There's been plenty of times where something's happened in my life, or somebody has come to me, or my girl comes to me with something, and I just know things about it that I shouldn't know, but I just do, because I'm constantly going out there, learning, reading, experiencing different things. So that's a huge one, and I love the fact that you point that out. The second piece, I have to say, because I've never been in like ideal shape. The best I've ever been is more closer to that Brad Pitt style from like Fight Club, and that was from actually doing swimming and whatnot earlier in my years. But diet is so important.
Yeah.
As long as you have diet correct and you have moderate exercise, you're going to be probably just fine. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't know if anybody else would disagree on it, but that's what I found throughout my life. Like, you don't have to be a gym cell or something like that just to get that
Oh, I'm going to
physique.
second that, because if you're not fat, 70% of Americans are overweight, and that means over 25 pounds. So if you just get into that range, you're going to be in the top 30%. So it's not a long stretch. Guys, let's get to the next one, huh? What do you say?
Okay, let's get rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. So far we're with the game and the muscles. We know we need to achieve these things, and now we're looking at the money. So hoping we'd have Laurent here for this one. I'm sure he has lots to say about it. But money is the ability or verifiable potential to acquire assets, resources, and access a secure lifestyle for oneself and one's mate. I made it as small as possible because there's a lot to be said here, because it feeds into everything else as well. It's your ability to acquire or the verifiable potential to acquire. This is why you can see guys that don't have they have some game, they got some muscle, but they're young, and a young gal will place all of her bets and her freshly prepared eggs right there on the potential, the verifiable potential to acquire assets. I think this one kind of holds true throughout, our lives too. That potential becomes very attractive. And what that is you say you're going to do something and you do it. At least that's the best way that I can kind of bring it down into terms as far as money is concerned. Yes, it's nice to be able to go flash some, I got some money here, whoop de doo all day. Doesn't really matter. Somebody I admire extremely greatly has plenty, but he lives a lifestyle that I admire greatly, and that is a minimalist lifestyle. And I think everybody should learn how to be minimalist before they ever acquire resources, because what it teaches you is how to be pragmatic in any circumstances, because wealth can come and wealth can go. I know I've been zeroed out twice, and it's not a fun thing. And the only skills that carry you through is the ability to be comfortable as a minimalist and not let it drag your emotions down. And that's Aaron Clary. Cappy is brilliant on how to be a minimalist. You don't need everything you think you need. And on top of that, what it does is it shows that you have the verifiable potential to acquire assets, because you may be frugal, but when the time counts, you're ready to go. You don't have to have a ton of money to be successful in life, but you do need game, you need muscles, and you're going to need frame. You'll see. Does money make certain aspects of game easier? I'm going to say no, but it does make, resources that you can go buy. I'll bring you some happiness. They make a lot of things easier. It may even make it easier to acquire muscles, because you can go get cosmetic surgery, which can fake it. You can fake it in a lot of ways. At least you can get your foot in the door. So all of these things are so interrelated. What do you guys think about this money thing? The ability or the verifiable potential to acquire assets, resources, and access a secure lifestyle for oneself and one's mate. Does that sum it up pretty well for you guys?
Yeah, I think it does. And I think money also, it's the, how do I want to say it? It's the lubricant. It gives you the ability to do things that most people wouldn't have the ability to do. It gives you the opportunity to, take that day off when you need to take the day off to recuperate, or to go out and do something just for you. That's what money does. I mean, I don't think any of the women I've ever been with were worried more about my money. I think they enjoyed the ability to do things that the money provides.
Yeah, I will say one more thing about money, and I want to say this with all seriousness. Even if you have, even if you're living somewhat of a minimalist lifestyle, as a minimalist, it's free. Money buys you freedom. Anybody ever hear the term "fuck you money"? Ability to walk away from any circumstances. I'm this freaking close, but I'm in California. I'm gonna get there. I'm right there, but that's what that buys you. I mean, you guys have no idea the intense pressure and laws of freedoms that are taken away from us here on the left coast, but you can see it and feel it every day. And what buys you out is money. And I would explain that in further at another day, but they don't even want you to sell your property here without heavy, heavy penalties. They'll let you go, but they're going to keep your shit. What do you think about this, old Phil? You're quite the successful businessman there in Texas.
Well, I would say it calibrates to the if it's for you as a male. I mean, obviously, it's your self-worth, right? I mean, you're going to work and you're going to do the things you're going to do to provide for yourself first. Now, if you're dating girls, I don't know. I mean, how much provisioning are you going to give access to, allow these girls to have access to? I mean, when you're just dating them. Now, if you're in a serious, committed, long-term relationship or a marriage, that's another story. Mm-hmm. The ability for verifiable potential, getting zeroed out. I've owned my own businesses. I've always been in business for myself. And so I'm coming up on 31 years here in September.
Congratulations.
And I'll tell you, 100% that, there's lean times and then there's, steak and lobster times. And that's what I tell everybody that I get involved with is like, look, my stuff goes up and down with the markets. Will I always pay my bills? Absolutely. Do I live a minimalist lifestyle? 100%. I don't buy trash. I don't need it. Okay. I try to live 100% debt free minus a vehicle here or there. It depends on, what I want. Can I go be irresponsible with my money and do dumb things with it and go get lines of credit and all this stuff? Absolutely I could, but I choose not to do that. I prefer to sleep well at night. And sleeping well, say again?
Live within your means.
That's right. I've calibrated that very well from being in business for myself. I will say that money, when it comes to women, I mean, it depends on the kind of woman. If you're just out to have some fun, and it's no big deal, absolutely, it's a good social lubricant, right? I mean, you go out, you can buy drinks, you can do whatever you want to do with that. But when it comes to, dealing with a woman that you're going to get serious with, and how you vet her out, for me, it's, like when I date women, it's okay, I'm going to buy dinner the first round, you got it the second round type situation
Yeah.
for a while. Well, my provisioning is going to be in place 100% of the time. Just it's not going to be happening because I'm not going to take these women seriously. Now, if I'm in a serious committed relationship with her and she is my woman, my wife, whatever that is, then absolutely, that is my duty as a male to provide and provision for my tribe 100%. And that allows her to do what she needs to do, as far as being the nurturer and running the home and taking care of the business that I need her to take care of, that I delegate to her. But when it comes to finance and money, you don't have to be Daddy Warbucks to be comfortable.
No.
Is it nice to be Daddy Warbucks and be comfortable? Absolutely. But let's just be realistic. It's getting harder and harder to be getting in that position. That FU money, that helicopter money, it's hard to get.
Helicopter, oh boy.
That's what I call it. That's what I call it, man.
That's a lot of money.
You know what I mean? And so, when you look at that and you're in business for yourself, like myself, I don't know who else is. I mean, sometimes you have good funnels. For me, it takes 4 businesses to live the lifestyle I like to live.
Yeah. So funny you mentioned helicopter. I had the opportunity to buy one, and because I've had some time in a helicopter. It was an R22, and you can get it for around, just around 180,000. It's not too bad, but the maintenance fees for every hour.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, dude, you own that thing for a few years, and it's triple that price. The maintenance, and here's what you got to do with things like that: you need to set it up so you could lease the damn thing, so you can keep from having to pay it. It's a brutal thing. You don't want to get involved in that at all. I don't think that you're absolutely right. Helicopter is like zero. But if you have the money for that, then okay, it doesn't matter to you. I think money, when you're dating, like I said, money is more along the lines of securing your ability to acquire those resources is really all you need. If you have that ability, you don't have to spend it on the women when you're dating. You just need the ability and project that confidence to provide a lifestyle, not fake it, but have at least that potential. I think you do just fine in the dating market, really, if you did. And if you're, by the time a man's in his 30s, he should have that pretty seriously, because we have the burden of performance. And part of that burden, if we're going to secure a woman for any length of time, whether it's said or not, if she earns her own money, she's a career guy, it makes no freaking difference. You're still a provider. It's still in her genes. It's still there. You still have to do it, no matter what she says. Or we know how the story ends.
Yeah, well, those strong, independent women, right? Oh, well, I don't need your money. Okay, well, remember you said that in 10 years.
Oh, wait till the divorce.
Oh, yeah.
More money.
And that's when they pull the lever and it goes 777 or like 4 cherries in a row or whatever the hell it is. I don't know.
They get 4 cherries in a row. Trust me.
6 pyramids or whatever it might be, but
and double diamonds.
Yeah, literally. No,
Literally.
it's just, I think that it's interesting. Guys try to use money to get chicks or whatever like that. You see them crash and burn all the time. They get to spend all their dough up, and there is no chicks. And
let's be honest. Let's be honest. Why a guy goes that way? Because every single relationship we're in is an exchange.
Transactional.
It is transactional at its fundamental value. As much as even the best ones we have, there is a value exchange, which equates to a transaction of some form or another, which implies some kind of a contract. All transactions do. A this for that, a that for this, unless you're a dog. But then again, you're getting something from a dog, right? Or a child, right? You're getting fulfillment, so it's still transactional.
Loyalty from the dog.
Hey, that's fulfillment and that's transactional. He's loyal, I'm feeding his ass. Right? She's not, I'm still feeding her. Oh, Robert, you're in the dating market, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Tell us how money makes the world go around, huh?
Well, it's weird because I tend to I don't really, have to spend a lot of money when it comes to the girls I date. I mean, I even,
Mhm.
you know, slept with girls who make more money than me. So, I mean, I think like I don't think I have to use that. Like, I'm not,
Mhm.
there's a certain type of woman I want to be around with. So I don't want to be around a woman who's just going to want to sleep with me for my, if I have money and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and the funny thing is, it's funny we're talking about. So I had this. So I host a bunch of like I have my own meetup group that I host and everything for singles and professionals. And there's this one guy I met there. Like, I mean, he's a rich guy and everything, and he knows about my channel and everything. He said to me, Rob, like, so how do I sleep with women since with all this money I'm having? And like I just like you don't need money, but I wanted to say just go buy a prostitute. But a lot of people do think that it's important. I think to some extent it is just depending on what type of girl you want. I think if you think money is going to be important for girls, and you're just going to attract like the gold diggers and everything, but and so like like I said, I don't really. To me, it's never been important. Like, and when I go out on dates, I have women who buy me drinks.
Oh, that's cool.
Sometimes I had someone offer me to go take them they were going to take me to Las Vegas like the last minute, but I couldn't make it because I had to work the next day. But they were going to take me on a trip to Las Vegas.
Well, that's where money comes into play. Yes, I can go. I'm free.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Choose
So I
when
think
you
if you
want.
have, I think if you
Yeah.
have good, like if you know how to, just have connect with a woman and stuff, and just show you're a fucking awesome guy, you don't really have to worry about that.
Right. Now, long term, you're going to have to, right?
Yeah, if I guess like settling down, it's a different story. Like I think it becomes important. I think if you're gonna like settle down with someone, because if they're gonna be looking for how much you make and shit like that.
Well, let me ask the panel real quick. I mean, some of us already answered this, but just let me ask the young guys. If you're going to settle down, would your intent to be to, maybe not marry, but to have children?
Yes, sir. I can't wait.
So if you do that, is she going to be a working gal or is she going to be a mom?
I do not plan for her to work long hours. If she wants to work
part-time?
part-time, yep.
Okay.
If she wants to work part-time to keep herself busy, especially when the kids get to that age of like 6 or 7, by all means, she can go do so. But no, when we first start, I do not plan to have her work. I want her to take care of the kids.
I think it's real laudable and reasonable.
Yeah, and I think that's really what I understand money to be in these 4 core principles. Is It's not you never lead with your wallet, but they need to know that the wallet's there so that they have that security as the relationship grows.
Yeah.
But I think using your money, it attracts like it attracts a different demographic.
Yeah, they got
Right,
large groups
exactly.
here.
You don't necessarily want to attract that demographic.
Yeah.
Hey Thor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got to actually head on out for a minute, so I got to leave the show. But
Thanks for joining, man.
Nice
We'll
to
see
meet
you later,
I'll come on
Robert.
again. Thanks for having
Thanks,
me on.
man.
I'll talk to you
Hey,
soon.
Rob.
Bye.
Bye. No worries. I think Mark's got a jet too. You got something
Yeah,
else? Bitch,
I
bud.
got a bail too. I'll make a comment on the money. It's funny how, and I guess guys use this for an excuse. They always say, "Oh, that girl wants him for his money. She's just going out with him for his money." But I think, and there are girls like that, but I think more times than not, they're going after that guy because of the type of character it takes to build up what he has. And that's what these guys don't want to see, because this gives them an excuse. Well, they go after the rich guys. I don't have anything. And that's not it. It's the personality, it's the character, it's the integrity, it's the attitude of the man is what what they're after. And I said last week about I would much rather my daughter go out with someone who works, who's got a job making $100,000 a year than some guy that works at McDonald's, if they're both equally good guys. And we think about this thing only because in the U.S. that we have the strong, independent woman. We don't realize that for thousands of years, women picked a man that could provide and protect for them. Provide, which means in nowadays terms, money. I mean, what woman doesn't want? And like HUD said there's no reason if you're a man that you would want your woman working when those kids are young. You're going to put them in daycare between the ages of 1 to 5 and have them raised by the minimum wage daycare worker who imprints her morals and her attitudes and her thought process on those kids when they're in that impression age. I got a real pet peeve about that one there. I realize there are single mothers that have to work, but more often than not, they're putting them in daycare so they can have all these things. It's very important for those kids to be with their parents when they're young like that. So, and that takes money. You have to have money to go, to have your wife at home. So that's my thoughts on money. And I got to go.
Man.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks,
Talk to
Mark.
you guys
See you next time. Let's go.
Take care.
All right, we're going to wrap this up and go around the horn with what I want to do is I want to put this up. This is frame. And I'm going to give my definition on what my take on it is, but everybody has a slightly different take, but I think we're all playing on the same ball field here. And I want to hear the takes. I don't think there's any right or wrong answers here, but as you put the game, the money, and the muscles together, now that you have these components together, what holds it all together and allows you to execute in the real world? Frame. So let's take a look at frame, gentlemen. All right. Well, here we go. So that's my thoughts on it. Game, muscles, money, and here's frame. Here we are at frame. So as I'm looking at this right now, frame in my mind is the ability to project dominant masculine presence. It's in your best interest to create boundaries, expectations, and responses that are both congruent, attractive, and present or present value to those you interact with socially and intimately. Or to say it again, it's your projection of your expectations, your boundaries for yourself and others that are both congruent, attractive, and present value to those as you interact socially and intimately. Group, individual. What do you guys think about that? Let's go around the horn and hear some definitions. Wraith, you've written quite extensively on this. In fact, you give lectures that are outstanding because as I've seen you take young men and really go through what you call a framing statement, and which really identifies it forces them to look at themselves in the mirror and see their identity. Can you go further into that with your thoughts on this?
When we talk about frame, and to me, as I've dealt with young men, and as I have two sons that I've raised myself, it's giving an understanding of your values, okay, and why you have those values and how you interpret those values. By doing that, you basically tell yourself how you're going to work within the world and how the world's going to have to accept you. Okay. To me, it's the most important of the four because it's the basis for how you develop your inner game, your game, and your money, because your frame sets the tone for who you are. And as we were talking earlier, Thor, when you and I were talking alone, frame sets your identity. And way too many young men don't understand their identity. If you ask a man, these days, who are you? They can't get beyond what they think they should have to say, this is what I really am. And that's the importance of frame. Frame tells you, it tells society who you are. And it's the most important thing that you have to work on first before you worry about interacting with any other people, whether it's be females or in business. If you look across the board, every man that's in this thing, they've developed frame based on an understanding of who they are and what they want from the world. If you don't know that, all the money, muscles, and game aren't going to do anything because you have no inner game. And frame is basically that inner game. And it works on the inside of you to tell you who you are. The outside of that is frame, which is where you're telling the world, this is who I am, accept me, and this is how I'm going to be treated, and this is how I'm going to treat you.
Excellent. Oh, we don't need that yet. All right. We'll go back to Phil. What's your take on frame, man? What's your definition of frame?
Yeah, I see you got me going after Wraith. That was pretty solid, man. But I will say this, man. Hear me loud and friggin' clear. It's frame over everything else in this world, period, when it comes to you as a male. I don't care. It doesn't bend. It's what you are 100%. It's what you are going to allow or accept in your life. And here's the deal, because the world's going to push, and that's people, relationships, the world itself. Your frame is basically your friggin' like roll cage against all the BS that's going on in this world and all the BS you invite into your life. And that's my mindset when it comes to it. I think that if you have a strong frame, you have an awesome life. If you have a weak frame, you are having a terrible life, because the simple fact is you are everybody else's, bitch, man, really and truly.
Rudderless.
Pardon, sir?
Rudderless.
Yeah. You're just floating around out there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you start, when I know, like my first ex-wife really red pilled me hard, you guys. But let me tell you something. Boy, that pill was like that big. I didn't chew it. It was so friggin' big. Man.
Are you sure it wasn't a suppository rather than?
Man, it was. As a matter of fact, I
red
think there was at pill
suppository.
call. There was a suppository on top of the pill I had to swallow, man. But I will tell you that from that woman forward, I learned a lot about myself, and I will say this: that a lot of people, when you have strong frame, think you're an asshole. They don't like you because they can't control you. They don't like you, and so Wraith was saying, you ask these young guys, like, who are you? And if you would have asked me that, I would have said, I'm Phil motherfucking Foster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the next man. I care about myself first and foremost. And so dealing with people and relationships that I have with all these different people that I have in my life, they know exactly who I am and what I'm about, because I broadcast that. That's who I am, period.
Love it.
And you can't waver at all, because the first sign of weakness, whether it's a business situation, a female situation, just interpersonal relationships, whatever it might be, the first time you let that get compromised, there's a crack in your armor. Here they come. The moral of the story is you can develop that frame and you can continue to make it thicker and thicker, until that armor is like 3-4 inches thick. It's like bomb proof. You're almost like a bomb shelter against the world, man. I think a lot of guys, they lack that. They're too afraid. They have too much fear and shame inside of them to say, hey, man, no, this is not how I'm operating with you right now. This is not the situation I'm ready to be involved with. This is not what I'm going to tolerate. This is not what I want. Too many guys are afraid to tell people what they want from them and be direct.
A frame is so integral to identity. I love that you two bounced that off of there versus my very condensed definition, because that's an excerpt really of the book I'm writing, which is Creating a Dominant Masculine Presence, which is all about identity and emotional regulation. So it's fascinating that men that I consider my dear peers think exactly like that. So who is RP Thor? Well, if you're asking me, look at my Facebook. It says Thor, a god amongst men.
Yeah.
And that's important, not so much to be arrogant, but to put me in my frame that I project to the world. So it's fascinating. This Viking, before we go to HUDs, you go RP. 100% truth. As soon as you go RP, the world does not like you. And that's why we band together and we start seeing the code in the matrix. That's why we got the glasses. They live. Our brother from Argentina.
Yes, sir.
That's what's your thoughts on frame? I mean, here you are. You're the youngest member of the panel, and yet I've known you for we're closing on 2 years, I think. Something like that, maybe slightly more. I've watched you grow, but your frame has grown throughout this. Your identity is solidified quite a bit. You came with a lot of it. I love it. Tell us about your thoughts on frame and when it really started to solidify for you. I mean, you're pretty confident. You're making a lot of moves that I admire, and I appreciate that. So tell us what you think about the frame and your definition. Where did it strike home for you?
Absolutely. And I think that you're leading me in perfectly to what I was going to talk about, because there's not much more that I can say outside of what Wraith and Phil were saying. For me, it was interesting, and I have to thank MLD. I have to thank you, you Thor, and then you, Wraith, and then Sterling Cooper as well, through all the stuff that I did with MLD in those different courses, meeting you guys. Man, it was in the middle of COVID that I decided to sign up for some of those courses, did the Zoom meetings, and it really pushed me forward. In the middle of COVID, I ended up taking a new job, got a 20 grand raise on it, got to a leadership position that I wouldn't have been in otherwise. I was able to start my own business. I was able to start my own group of men like this. It's crazy when you really take hold of your life and you start saying no. The power of saying no is unbelievable. And I've noticed it not just in my personal life with relationships, but in the professional life as well. And when you do that, a lot of times people they get frustrated because they're just looking to control you. And when you stand up for yourself, everything kind of shifts. So for me, it's only been that past 2 years, but quite honestly, I feel like I'm a teenager again. I feel almost invincible as I'm just going on through life. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, I can tell your energy is enthusiastic and it bleeds through even in the letters that you've written and is inspiring. So thanks, Huds. I appreciate that. Let's try this real quick because I'll finish it up, but let's go ahead and rank. Let's put the 4 back up. Okay. And let's rank these in the order of importance. How about that? Oh, well, this is the thumbnail. Oh, well, this is good too. Out of these 4 characters, which one is Frame? Which one is muscles? Which one is game? Which one is money? Here we go. Let's get it back. Oh, wrong one. There we go. So out of these, how do you guys order them? Let's start with Wraith.
For me, it would be frame, game, money, and muscles.
Okay, sounds good, man. Huds, what's your thoughts?
I actually have to agree with that. I was trying to decide whether I would switch muscles or money. I have to say that through this discussion, I always thought game was king, but I think frame makes a lot more sense because frame bleeds into everything in your life. So frame, game, money, muscles.
Phil Foster. What do you think?
I'm gonna be the anomaly, Thor.
Okay.
I'm gonna say frame, game, muscles, and I'm gonna tell you why muscles comes before money. You can always make money. You can't always make muscles.
Okay. You're not the anomaly, actually. I think frame slightly edges game because
Yeah,
it's
I
part of
think
your
frame-
identity.
Yeah,
And
I think
from
yeah, I
that,
think-
you can create game.
Yeah, I think frame, game, muscles, and money because you can always make money.
I have to agree with you 100%, right? I actually think do we have a unanimous ranking of the core 4 here? I think we do. Huds, what was yours?
I thought we switched. I thought Wraith and I were saying money before muscles. Did I misspeak on that?
No, you had it right. You had it right.
Get it right?
Thor's-
Okay.
We're split down the middle.
We're split right down the middle. So we're tossing money and muscles. Hey, remember, that's cool. Money is cool. Someday
Yeah.
it'll buy you muscles. They'll get them little genetic things where they'll put the myostatin inhibitor in you, and you'll just be like one of those beef cows that are just huge and hauling. Just
Sign me up. Sign me up, bro.
Oh, I know,
Let's
and I'm
go.
all
Let's
about
go.
it,
Let's
man.
go.
You know
Let's go
we're
right
waiting
now.
for myostatin inhibitors, brother, huh? Wouldn't that be cool? Holy crap. That's frame. Oh, that's great, guys.
So-
okay, so ranking, we're split down the middle. Yeah.
Can I say one thing? Guys, if you don't understand frame, do an exercise for yourself and start trying to write down the way that you want to treat the world and you want the world to treat you, I guess is the best way to put it. All right? Because if you don't, you haven't taken the first step to understanding yourself. And everyone needs to understand themselves. It gives you a point of where you're at. It gives you a point of origin for where you're going to go. And I teach that in a lot of webinars and stuff that I've done with John and stuff. I did a thing on self-talk, and without understanding frame, you can't have a positive self-talk. So do yourself a favor and explore frame. A lot of books and stuff that come out about the red pill stuff they say you got to have frame, but they don't explain it to you. And the definition is so vague that anybody can have frame. Everybody has a frame. It's just whether you have a frame that you want to, live in, and whether or not you have a frame that gets you the results of how people treat you the way you want to be treated. So frame is important.
Very important. And I'm glad that you're here because you're really kind of, you have the most background here in teaching frame. And, I think, there's components of frame as you get past the identity that I've noticed in some of your stuff is there's also a leadership component. Starts with yourself. And then as that leadership component comes out, it starts to get that pipeline to game, because game, leadership is game as well. It starts to grow out of that frame and into game. Interesting subject. And yeah, if anybody's lacking this or actually touches on this, I would recommend just for a moment, take a look at modernlifedating.com. He's got his Men's Empowerment Network coming up next month, and Wraith is going to be giving some lectures exactly on this. And there'll be several of us that speak there, but definitely can get really in depth and help you achieve one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of the core four that we're talking about today, really.
And the other thing is, feels right. Some people are going to view you as an asshole. That's their problem. It's not yours.
Yeah, well,
You're not responsible for anybody else's feelings, only your own.
That's right.
I don't care about anybody's feelings and what the way they look at me. I really don't care.
I don't
exactly.
Like it or not, this is who I am. It's like that movie Heat. You got to be able to walk away and just be able to walk away from it. Just who cares?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
That's cool.
And I'll tell you 9 times out of 10, it's the frame you exhibit that are going to attract women to you. Now, what you do with it after that, that's on you. But
how you hold
it. Rock solid frame. Women are going to approach you.
Don't be complacent.
Yeah, don't let them put you in the box.
Yeah,
put you in the penalty box.
That frame. They're going to shit test you and try to take it from you.
So, but like I said, that's the whole thing that attracts women to you.
Right.
Because that tells you that shows that you've developed competence and that you have confidence and that you have boundaries. All those things that women are looking for. Women are looking for men with boundaries, and that will impose boundaries on them.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is when a woman's testing your frame, right, or she gives you some shit test and you don't even acknowledge it. It's like that didn't even friggin' happen. And they circle back the next day and say, I was just joking about that. And you still don't even acknowledge it then. That's bespoke frame right there, guys. Don't feed. They're just girls.
Exactly. But you sniff the poon and it's all over, guys. Just stop it. Stop it. It's magical. Where do you think magical thinking came from? Pheromones.
Like we were saying last week, if the thirst was gone, men would be in charge.
All right, let's wrap this thing up, guys. I want to wrap this up. We had a great conversation. I really appreciate you guys. I want to talk a little bit about, as we wrap this up, about Phil and HUDs, and then myself and Wraith. All of us offer different services, and we got something pretty special coming up here next week. But I want to talk about HUDs. You have a service. I want you to talk about your service that you offer and how people can get a hold of you for it. I have it listed in the comments below. The description, but tell us about your service. And then Phil, I want to know about your membership program as well. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you why. Wraith, and tell everybody about how to reach you on Facebook. I have those links here. I know that you're going to end up doing some YouTube stuff eventually. We're going to get together with that. And then I'm going to announce a couple things tonight. So let's start with HUD. Tell us about your program.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a dating coach. I primarily work with men post-divorce, getting them back on their feet. But I work with people of all ages. So if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, it's at the HUDs Man. So THE HUDs Man. You can reach out to me there. You can schedule something. But then I also run a group similar to Thor's Mastermind. And we go on trips every 6 months. and bring men together, it really is a fantastic thing. So reach out to me that way.
Awesome. Phil, what about you, man? Tell me about that membership.
Yeah, you can find me. First off, the business is philfosterfitness.com. You can find me there, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at philfoster_, and the same on Facebook. You can find me at philfoster_. That's going to be my private, and then Phil Foster Fitness on Facebook. Basically, it's I have developed an app for training, online training. I do in-person training, nutrition counseling, hormone counseling. I've got a full supplement line that I've designed and developed and brought to market. So if you're looking to dial in your fitness, hit me up. I'm a master trainer. Got a little bit of game when it comes to the weights and how to figure out biology and understand how your body works. And if you're looking to go to the next level, let's do it. Hit me up.
Fantastic. Wraith, tell us a little bit about what you do here.
I do men's coaching. I try to take men from where they're at and set them on a pathway that gets them to get what they want. And that's, that sounds like it's a small task, but it's not. And I also work with men that are coming out of relationships, trying to figure out why they failed. But mostly it's about getting you to understand yourself, why you do the things you do, and why you make the same mistakes that you keep making. You can find me on Wraith_Detour on Facebook, Wraith_Detour on Telegram, and also Wraith_Detour at Yahoo. If you really want to work on yourself, guys, I'm here to work with you. I charge a modest amount of money per hour to do that. And I'm probably the lowest guy, which have the lowest fee around. But, I'm here to help you. I'm trying to pass something along, but my time is important to me. And so I do charge for it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, guys. Hey, I'm RP Thor, and what I do is I also coach or consult, and primarily I do it on a couple of different levels. I will work with people and their LTRs, both men and women, particularly when they're having some rough patches or some complacency and contempt that's going on that has reduced the affection and the attraction in their relationships, and had some good successes there. I also work with men that are somewhat older on the hormone replacement therapy. I do lectures on that. I've done research and I have several programs up on that. And then I am branching out and working with young men on how to create a dominant masculine presence for themselves so they can achieve the core 4 in their life, starting with frame. It's very important that you secure your identity and move forward in this life, because that is your burden of performance. Now, that being said, the very first announcement that I'm going to have is that all of the memberships you heard here, I offer one as well. It's down at the bottom scrolling. It is Thor's DragonShip Mastermind Monthly. It's a 3-hour meeting every month, second Tuesday of the month, where we discuss these issues and many more and present the opportunity for you to become interactive, involved in this and learn interactively. It is very different than most of your memberships out there, because you are a part of it. It is not a sit back and enjoy the entertainment. You're literally presenting and learning this stuff. Now, the outgrowth of being a member of any of these memberships, you are invited to something very special. And the only way in is as part of this membership. Two of our members are extremely, let's say, top 0.01% of the world's elite as far as success and money is concerned. They work within markets with trading. One of them is literally a quant. If you don't know what a quant is, those are the rocket scientists of all markets, commodities, foreign exchange, companies, real estate. These are the guys that really work with these markets and give information to people like the George Gammons of the world, Robert Kiyosaki's. They provide this information. And what he's offered to these groups is a 6-part lecture series that you can access through these memberships starting next week. If it's something you're interested in, you'll need to join one of these memberships, and you can get an invite to this as well. It is not something that it's only offered to these members as part of an added value to them. So I just wanted to mention that briefly. Our lead instructor is one of the panel members here. That's Laurent out of Tokyo. He couldn't make it tonight, so I'm hoping he's over there polishing his presentations, which I've seen, and they're fantastic. Another announcement that I have for you guys, because you guys are all going to come on within the next month or so, maybe next month, be starting a new podcast show. And it's not going to be live, but it's going to be one-on-ones. And the theme that this is, it's going to be Thor's rites of passage. I think it's important that men hear men like you and the rites of passage that you've gone through to become successful. You know, very similar to Phil's growth cast, but a non-live version. I'm going to try to do it a little bit more professional level, working on some of that too. So look for that coming up on this channel in the next month or so. So with that, does anybody have any final thoughts, or are we good to go for today? Right, man.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would tell the guys that are watching this, tell your friends.
Tell your friends and subscribe.
You've got
Right.
friends, you've got friends out there that need this.
Everybody
And you know you
does.
do.
Absolutely. And keep living the dream, Skull.